Hi, everyone. Welcome to the fourth of the ProScope series of webinars designed specifically for those businesses dealing with complex projects. Today, we'll be talking specifically about subcontractor management with ProScope and how your subcontractor management process can be transformed with ProScope and the industry-leading NetSuite ERP platform. My name is Katie Clark, and I'm the solution consultant in the North America region here at ProScope. But prior to ProScope, I was a solution consultant at NetSuite, and that's where I developed my foundation of NetSuite knowledge and also had the privilege of working with several customers in the construction industry. So I understand the challenges and would like to take this time to talk with you about how you can unlock efficiency for your business when it comes to subcontractor management. So throughout the presentation, feel free to ask questions or provide comments in the chat, and we can take some time at the end to address those in more detail. But for our agenda today, we are going to start off with discussing the top 3 problems we see companies facing when it comes to subcontractor management specifically. Then we'll dive into how ProScope adds value to those challenges. We'll get into a live demonstration of the subcontractor management process flow in ProScope/NetSuite. And then we'll wrap up with discussions and frequently asked questions and follow up with some contact information. But today we're shedding a light on the top 3 challenges that companies often encounter in subcontractor management. These hurdles can definitely impede efficiency, accuracy, and overall project success. The first being poor intercompany tracking. So companies frequently struggle with insufficient tracking of subcontractor work across multiple projects, especially between intercompany entities. And this lack of cohesive tracking often leads to fragmented data, hindering project coordination, resource allocation, and billing accuracy. Secondly, complex retentions and journal updates. So calculating and managing complex retentions pose significant difficulties for companies. And additionally, keeping those journals updated with accurate information really proves to be a time-consuming task. So those challenges can result in financial discrepancies, compliance issues, reporting inaccuracies, and overall the financial health of projects. And third, difficulty managing subcontractor rates and materials. So native NetSuite offers, users often face hurdles in effectively managing subcontractor rates, materials, and markups within the system. And this difficulty usually arises from the complexity of tracking various rates, materials, and markups across different projects. And that leads to challenges in cost estimation, procurement, and project budgeting. So addressing these challenges is pivotal for companies aiming to streamline their operations and enhance project outcomes. In the following section, we'll then explore how our solution of ProScope offers tailored strategies to tackle those issues head on, empowering companies to achieve greater efficiency, accuracy, and success in subcontractor management. So starting with end-to-end subcontractor management. So this meaning ProScope offers comprehensive subcontractor management capabilities, covering the entire life cycle of the project from initiation of the project creation itself to applications for payment. And this end-to-end approach really ensures seamless coordination and visibility across all the stages of the subcontracting process. That's leading to smoother project execution and timely payments. Second, being automated and accurate tracking. So with ProScope, you don't have to manually track data, and our solution really provides automated and precise tracking of subcontractor activities, expenses, and progress all within one unified system. So this streamlined approach really eliminates errors, reduces that administrative overhead, and ensures real-time visibility into project status and financials. And finally, having a dedicated subcontractor portal. So ProScope has a customized subcontractor portal that offers a dedicated way for subcontractors to directly create and view applications, streamline communication, as well as access any relevant project information. And this self-service functionality really enhances collaboration, reduces those administrative barriers, and fosters stronger relationships between contractors and subcontractors. By leveraging these features, ProScope really empowers your team to optimize subcontract management processes, minimize risks, and maximize project success. So next in our demo, we'll explore these functionalities and capabilities in more detail and really demonstrate how they translate into tangible benefits for your organization. Today, we'll be diving into the subcontractor process flow within ProScope. And in this demo, we'll walk through each stage of the subcontractor lifecycle, from onboarding vendors to completing project work. So starting with onboarding the vendor, this really all starts at the vendor/subcontractor record. And this will include all information that's essential to the subcontractor management process, including retention settings, which we'll configure to ensure accurate withholding and releasing of funds. Also, we'll review the process for collecting and verifying subcontractor certificates and insurance documents. And then we'll also address subcontractor portal access, which is where we'll grant subcontractors access to the subcontract portal in ProScope, allowing them to create payment applications and submit documentation. Next, we'll talk about awarding project work. So this starts at the initiation of project work orders, and we'll show how to create and assign work orders to subcontractors, which will outline contract information. We'll also review the transfer of requisitions to work order line items that will detail the scope of work. And finally, we'll explore the creation and management of purchase orders to formalize agreements with subcontractors. After the scope of work is awarded and defined, we'll address billing for that project work. So that will include application for payments, any retentions that are included in that process, and the subcontractors portal and its role in allowing subcontractors to create applications themselves. After that, we'll talk about lien waivers. So we'll touch on the importance of lien waivers in subcontractor management and demonstrate how ProScope and our partner WorkHero work together to streamline this process. And finally, we'll address completing project work. So closing work orders and retention and the retention release that's associated with that. And by the end of this demo, you'll have a comprehensive understanding of how ProScope really optimizes the subcontractor process flow, which is going to streamline your operations and drive project success relating to subcontract management. So with that, let's dive into the system. We're now logged into ProScope/NetSuite, and like I mentioned before, the foundation for the subcontractor management process starts at the vendor/subcontractor record. So we'll use our global search to search for the vendor record that we'll be referencing throughout today, which is going to be our current contracting. So you'll see here at the vendor record, it's going to include all of our essential information, but what we're going to focus on is the subcontractor subtab. So clicking into the subcontractor subtab here, you'll see the first thing you'll notice is our key subcontract management details, which is going to include our retention percentage that we've set. So at the subcontractor level, you'll have the flexibility to set retention percentages specific to each subcontractor. And that's really going to allow you to tailor retention rates based on these contractual agreements and project requirements, as you'll also be able to set retention percentages at the work order level, which we'll get to a little bit later. Additionally, you'll be able to designate the standard payment method, which is going to indicate whether applications are used or it'll be directly invoiced. Also, our lien waiver requirement here is where you'll have the option to specify whether a lien waiver is required from subcontractors before releasing payments. And we'll dive into more details on how ProScope and WorkHero support lien waiver management when the setting is enabled later on in the demo. Scrolling down a bit here and going to the certifications and invoicing subtab, this is going to be where you can easily access certification and insurance documents for each subcontractor. And this is going to include details such as expiration dates and any related documents that are relevant to the certification or insurance claim or insurance policy. And by capturing these expiration dates for the certifications and insurance, this is how you can proactively monitor and track compliance, really ensuring that subcontractors maintain up-to-date credentials throughout the project lifecycle. And in order to easily manage this, we'll go back to our home dashboard briefly, and you'll see that we have a saved search set up here. in our reminders portlet showing us the soon-to-be expired certifications and insurance policies. And clicking into this, we'll be able to see that one expired in certification that we just have set up on Clark Contracting. And this proactive approach really just ensures that we're staying ahead of compliance deadlines, minimizing risks, and maintaining smooth project operations. So we'll return to our vendor record here. And we'll go into our relationship subtab briefly. This is going to be where we store all the information regarding individuals that are relating to this subcontractor. And this is where you'll also be able, clicking into one of these contact records, in addition to basic contact information regarding individuals, this is where you'll also be able to grant ProScope's subcontractor portal access in this subtab here. And this is going to be where you can grant credentials to individual users via email. We'll get into the subcontractor portal a little later on, but just wanted to call out that this is where you would grant access. All right, so now that we've gone over the vendor record, we'll transition over into the subcontract work order. So the next step of this process is going to be to create a subcontractor work order for Clark Contracting. So to do this, I'm going to go to our home dashboard, and I'm going to click into the project record that we're going to be referencing today. So at the project record level, we're going to scroll down to our subcontractor subtab. And here you'll see that I've created a work order that's tied to this project, outlining the scope of work with our sample subcontractor, Clark Contracting, that we just saw the record set up for. And you'll notice when we open this subcontract work order, we'll see the link to the subcontractor record, but this is going to tie all the information, as well as the link to the project record. So it's all integrated. Additionally, you'll see here that we also have the option to designate an application payment type or a retention percentage claim on the work order level. So if you wanted to have different work orders for the same subcontractor on the same project, you definitely have the flexibility to do that, as well as to designate individual payment terms per work order. Additionally, you can include work order details. So if you have specific terms and conditions pertaining to this subcontract work order, you can definitely designate those here, or you can also create a template for different types of work orders. So if you have different elements that you would like to include based on the subcontractor or the work order, you have the flexibility to set those as defaults as well. And below here, you'll see that we don't have any work order lines currently, but we'll get to that in the next step. So in order to generate our work order lines, we're going to go back to our project record. We'll just access that through our link here. And we're going to scroll down to the procurement subtab. And in the procurement subtab here, you'll see all of the items that are required for the project and or subcontractor work. And these requisitions are going to be automatically generated from the estimate process, or they can be manually created. And these items, this item here for subcontractor work is currently in a planned state, so it's awaiting assignment to a vendor for completion. So in order to assign a preferred vendor, we're going to go ahead and open the requisition here. And once we've opened the requisition, we're going to assign Clark Contracting as our preferred vendor to use. And want to note, once we select our vendor here, there's simultaneously a price lookup occurring that's going to ensure that accurate rates are being recorded. So this is going to just be an automated check that guarantees that if there's any service rates that are designated at the subcontractor or vendor level, that those are being taken into account. Additionally, we're going to select the work order that we've been referencing. So we're going to go and select work order 29, and we're going to auto add the work order line item as well. so that this will update the work order automatically with this work order line item detail. So we'll go ahead and save this requisition. So now that this updated requisition is saved, we'll go back to our original work order to review the updates. So we'll go into our subcontractor subtab, pop open this work order, and you'll notice that the work order line item was automatically generated. Additionally, a purchase order was created automatically. So ProScope's automation really is going to simplify the purchase order creation and update process, really saving you the time and reducing inaccuracies as opposed to doing that manually. I mean, especially in projects involving multiple subcontractors, ProScope manages purchase order creation and updates. So any changes in the work order are going to be reflected in this linked purchase order. And that's going to eliminate any need, not only for creation manually of the purchase order, but any updates as well that come with any changes. And speaking of changes, you're also able to initiate contractor early warnings from work orders. So popping this open really quick, this is going to be where if you have any anticipated changes or delays, you can record the information resulting from those and have those sent for approval to be included as part of the work order and subcontractor process. So just another way of being able to record in detail any changes or variations that come about during the process. We'll go ahead and exit out of this, going back to the subcontract work order. So now that the subcontractor information and the work order line items are tied to the project, we'll now talk about the billing process or raising progress claims against subcontractors once the work is being completed. So to do this, we're going to go to our home dashboard and we're going to click into our subcontractor shortcut on our project launchpad portlet. And at the ProScope subcontractor application page, to create a subcontractor application, we're going to select the subcontractor. And once we do that, the work orders for that subcontractor are going to populate in this list below. So we'll select subcontract work order 29. And once we select that work order, all of the line items on that work order are automatically going to populate. And it's at this point where we can edit the amount due or the respective percentage complete. So you'll notice if we edit the amount due, so for example, out of the 10,000 that's on this line item, we'll put 7,500. The respective field will also automatically populate to 75%. So either field that you fill out will calculate automatically. But for this purpose, we're going to include $7,500 or 75% is complete of this line item. And you'll notice that when we once we designate that amount due, it'll also include any retentions that were set. So in this case, the 10% retention that was set. And then also it'll take into account the application payment terms as well. So we're going to go, we'll go and save this application, the subcontract application. So also wanted to mention, now that we've saved this application, after we've saved, we can still make changes or variations to the original work order line items. So if we have any additions or deductions that we need to note, we can definitely include those, and those will be tracked separately. And we have a specific report that I'll show later on that will break down those changes and the impacts they have on the project. So scrolling down, we'll find our application that we just created. Open it up here. And the next step in this process will be to mark this application as certified. However, before that, I wanted to call out the journal entries that were automatically created upon creation of this subcontract application. So 2 separate journal entries were created to account for the application amount as well as the retention. So opening our application journal entry, we'll see that the accounts payable was credited and the accrued purchases or accrual account was debited. And this journal entry is going to be reversed upon generation of the invoice, and that'll happen once we certify this application. Next is going to be our retention journal entry that was created. So opening this up here, we'll see that our retention payable account was credited and our accrued purchases account was debited. And this is going to be reversed when we close out the work order and release the retention in our final step. But for our next step here, we'll go ahead and certify this application. So now that the application has been certified, a purchase invoice was automatically generated. We'll click into this invoice to see what this record looks like. So as you can see, the vendor information is going to still be linked, and all of the information that was included in the application is of course going to be generated as part of the invoice as well. But we'll go back to our subcontract application and take a look at that reversal journal entry that I mentioned previously that was created corresponding with the application journal. So you'll notice here that the reverse journal entry is linked. So clicking into it, we'll see that the appropriate accounts have been debited and credited. So our accounts payable was debited the $6,750, and the accrual account for accrued purchases was credited that $6,750. And again, the reversal journal entry for the retention amount won't occur until later on, but that'll automatically create once we close out the work order and release the retention. So now that we've covered creating applications directly from ProScope, we can touch upon how the subcontractor portal can streamline this process. So earlier we discussed when we were talking about the vendor record, how you can grant access or credentials to subcontractor users via email. So this is an example of what they may receive with those credentials to log in. So we'll go ahead and use these credentials to log into the portal. Upon logging in, users will see a read-only summary view of all of the current applications that have been created within the last 3 months. Additionally, users can create applications directly from the portal by using the panel shortcut here. To do this, they'll go ahead and select the appropriate purchase order. And once the purchase order is selected, the corresponding work order and work order line item details will populate. The only editable fields here are going to be the % complete and amount due. So for this example, we'll mark this as 100% complete, and that remaining 2,500 out of the 10,000 will be included in the application. Also, that 10% retention was set, so that'll be automatically calculated and taken into account as the 250. Subcontractors can also attach files during the application process by clicking this supporting document on the grid header here. And this is going to be when they would like to supplement or provide evidence relating to their application. So we'll go ahead and select the files that we want to include here. And all accepted files are going to include Word, Excel, PDF, CSV, PNG, and JPEG. And once attached files are included in this application, they'll be uploaded to the file cabinet and then attached to the vendor, and then as well as created, as well as the subcontract application within NetSuite/ProScope, which we'll see shortly here. But we'll go ahead and create this application and save. So once that application has been saved, we'll be rerouted to our home page here to confirm that that was submitted to ProScope/NetSuite, as it's included in our current application summary as the last item here. And we'll take a look now at what that looks like in ProScope/NetSuite directly. So now that we're back in ProScope/NetSuite, we're at the subcontractor application summary list. We'll scroll down to the most recently created application. And you'll notice this looks very similar to the application we saw earlier that we created directly in ProScope. However, the one difference here is you'll notice that this indicates it was created by a portal user, which was myself just now, and it'll include all of the same information that was indicated in the portal to include in the application. Also in the file cabinet here, Any documents or files that were attached in the portal are also going to be included here in the file cabinet and linked to the vendor. So really you can see here by leveraging the ProScope subcontractor portal, subcontractor users can efficiently manage applications, collaborate with project teams, and also streamline the documentation process.
So now we'll discuss how ProScope and 𝐬𝐞𝐫𝐢 work together to automate the lien waiver process. For lien waiver signature creation, we'll take a look at this from an internal perspective. As you'll recall from earlier on in the demo, at the vendor/subcontractor record, we have the ability to enable the requirement of lien waivers. And when this functionality is enabled, vendor bills are going to be automatically placed on hold due to a lien waiver being required. And once the bill is placed on hold, a lien waiver will then be automatically created. However, a lien waiver type needs to be selected prior to getting it signed. And ProScope has 4 out-of-the-box lien waivers that work with both vendors and subcontractors. The first being full release unconditional, second, partial release unconditional, third, full release conditional, and finally, partial release conditional. And once the type is selected, it can then be sent for signature via 𝐬𝐸. A lien waiver document and information will then be auto-populated from the lien waiver record within NetSuite/ProScope. The lien waiver in ProScope will reflect the signature status as well as include the signature link to 𝐬𝐸. Now we'll take a look at the lien waiver signature from a vendor perspective. Once a lien waiver is sent for signature, the vendor will then receive an email similar to this with a link to view details and provide signature. Once they click into the details, they'll be able to view the document, provide any comments, and ultimately a signature. This is a view of what the electronic agreement to the ProScope lien waiver would look like. And once they have agreed, they can then finish and save this document. Now we'll discuss lien waiver completion from an internal perspective. So once the lien waiver is signed off, this will notify users on the main dashboard of the reminders portlet in ProScope/NetSuite. So upon logging in, they'll see that the recently signed lien waivers, as well as any unsigned lien waivers that are outstanding. And clicking into the completed lien waivers, users will be able to see the signature details as well as any attached documents. Once completed, the signature status will be updated on the ProScope lien waiver as well. The electronic signature will also be updated in the lien waiver document on the following page. Then the payment will be released from the vendor bill automatically, and this is going to take us through the lien waiver process end to end. Next, we'll wrap up with a demonstration by covering the subcontractor retention release process. So now that we're logged back into ProScope/NetSuite, I've returned to the original work order and we'll go through the final step of releasing retention to the subcontractor. This is going to allow you to automatically release retentions to allow the specified retention amount to be paid to the subcontractor. And in this instance, we'll release the full current retention balance of $1,000. And again, this is going to be the sum of both retentions held in the applications we previously submitted and certified, specifically the $750 of the $7,500 in the first application we raised, along with the $250 of the $2,500 application raised from the subcontractor portal. So to release the retention for the subcontractor, we'll go click the Release Retention to Subcontractor shortcut above. And this will open a dialog box where you can enter the amount of retention you wish to release. So we're going to go ahead and just release the full current retention balance here. And once we click OK, this will start the process of releasing retention to the subcontractor or creating journal entries behind the scene to record that release. So we'll go click into our retention release subtab to take a look at this specific journal entry that was created. So we'll click into our journal entry here, and we'll see the appropriate retention reversal journal entry was created by crediting our accounts payable account appropriately by the amount specified. So this concludes both the subcontractor retention release process and the subcontractor management process overall.
So now that we've gone through our demo, wanted to also address some frequently asked questions we get after customers have been introduced to the subcontractor module. So the first being, does ProScope have saved searches and reports that give visibility into subcontractor work relating to specific projects? And the answer to that is yes. ProScope has a few key reports that give insight into subcontractor work that I'll show shortly. But before that, I just want to note also that any subcontractor data that's in ProScope/NetSuite, users can still create customized reports and save searches to reflect that data. Furthermore, because all native NetSuite reporting tools are able to be utilized, because all data, including subcontractor data, is still remaining on the same unified platform as NetSuite. So with that being said, let's take a look at a few ProScope reports and save searches that summarize subcontractor work relating to projects. So the first being our ProScope project work order summary. And this report provides a comprehensive overview of all the subcontractor work orders that are associated with your projects. This is going to include tracking retentions held. So this is going to give you the ability to track the retentions held to date for each subcontractor work order, which I'll highlight here. And this is going to help you monitor the financial aspects of your subcontractor agreements. So you're really ensuring accurate accounting and compliance with contractual obligations based on retentions across the board. Additionally, the report includes columns dedicated to tracking estimated and committed costs for each work order. And this is going to help you track the actual subcontractor costs incurred and compare those against the budgeted amounts. And by monitoring the subcontractor cost variances, you can really proactively manage project finances and mitigate potential overspending, specifically when it comes to subcontractors. Next is going to be our ProScope work order line details report. And this is going to give a more detailed view of what we saw just now, but more insight into individual work items. So with both the ProScope subcontractor work order summary report and the work order line details report, you gain valuable visibility and control over subcontractor activities within your projects. So by tracking retentions, managing costs, and accessing customizable reporting options, you can really optimize project performance, specifically when it comes to subcontracting, and drive success. This is going to be a custom save search that we've created to show subcontractor retentions that are going to be due to be released in the next 60 days. And save searches like this can be customized to include data that's most relevant to your subcontractor process and configured to your home dashboard as well for easy accessibility. And finally, we have our ProScope subcontract variations or change orders. And this report's going to offer a comprehensive overview of the subcontract variations or change orders that are associated with the work orders that are tied to your projects. It'll give you some more detail on the the financial impact of the change, including estimated versus committed cost, and your applied retentions and the approval status. And having a high-level view of the subcontract variations across all projects can really help give visibility into the change order impact on project performance and thus better guide strategic decision-making when it comes to subcontracting. The next frequently asked question is, when issuing work orders, does it have to be on a per project basis? And the answer to that is no. So in ProScope, subcontractor work orders can be issued globally. Or in other words, if a work order is created for a subcontractor without being tied to a specific project, the base details of that work order will be applied to all work order items with that subcontractor selected. So some of these base details would include retention settings, payment terms, So ultimately, this module is really designed to be flexible and scalable for customers utilizing subcontractors, whether that's on a broad or project by project basis. And our final frequently asked question is, do invoices generate automatically after applications are certified? And yes, like we saw in the demonstration, once applications are certified by the appropriate user in ProScope/NetSuite, invoices are then automatically going to be generated. Also, the appropriate journal entries, like we saw, are also going to be automatically created on the back end. Um, and this automation really reduces time spent manually invoicing and recording transactions. So it really increases accuracy as well. So that takes us through everything I had planned to cover today. Wanted to thank you all so much for joining today for ProScope's webinar on subcontractor management. If you like what you saw today, feel free to reach out to us for more information or follow us on LinkedIn to get connected with our team and stay up to date with new ProScope releases and updates. Thanks again and have a great day.